All right, boom. We are back with the 110th edition of the Quarantinecast. I will be joined by Alberto Trujillo. Probably butchered that last name, but he had a huge title fight at CFFC, and won the flyweight strap over Santo Curatolo, who a lot of people have been high on. So a huge performance by him. And without further ado, I'll bring him on. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, hi, how's it going?
Not too bad. So how are you feeling, man? Huge win for you for CFFC, and how does it feel to get that W?
It feels really good. Yeah, definitely, like you said, some people were hyping them up a lot, and I'm glad I was able to derail that train.
Yeah, you were the heavy underdog going into that fight. Does it feel a little bit better knowing like I proved all those doubters wrong?
Yeah, I guess I really don't pay attention to like if I got doubters or any of that stuff. I believe in myself, my team believes in me, and then the people that are around me believe in me. So as long as I have them, I'm good to go.
You had a long layoff, obviously, with the pandemic and everything. It was a little over a year since we had last seen you back in September of 2019. So what was the biggest change for you in that time off?
Uh, I've been working a lot with Coach Eric Resk, and he's been focusing a lot of on the grappling, a lot of on the little details. So I was able to improve on my boxing, which I just played a little better this time because the opponent was a little shorter. Usually I end up fighting people that are taller than me, so I have to wrestle them, or at least I feel like I have to wrestle them to even out the playing field. But I was able to box a little more with Cartello because we were about the same height.
Did you? One of the things I noticed about your fight was the amount of pressure you applied. You were right in his face the entire time. Was that part of the strategy? Like get in there and show your pressure. And is the fact that you do that related to the fact that you do give up so much size in these fights?
Uh, it was the plan, not specifically for him, but because the coaches know that that's how I fight. I'm a pressure fighter. I like to come forward. I never like to back up. And then the reason I do pressure a lot, it is to try to always close the distance.
You've primarily competed for Combate. Was it different for you to compete for a new organization? And what went behind the decision to fight for CFFC? Was it the title, or what was the ultimate reason for making that switch?
The ultimate switch was because right now Combate is not making shows, not putting on shows. CFCC was, and then um, the title was just a plus, really. I really wasn't too worried about the title.
Do you have goals of going back to Combate once they open things up, or are you happy there at CFFC?
I'm happy there at CFFC. I would like to make a UFC debut, hopefully early next year, if possible.
I think that's a great point too, because that flyweight division right now is really in need of talent in the UFC. They have guys. I think there's a fighter in there, Zaruk Adashev, who's I think 3-2. So I think you have a 5-1 record, very good. Have you considered even competing on the Contender Series or the other show, The Ultimate Fighter? Now that they offer that to bantamweights, is that something that you've considered, or would you like a direct shot at the UFC?
I would like those. I would like to compete in the Contender Series if they made a flyweight show. I would definitely get on there. My coaches and manager have been trying to get me a fight on there. It's just I guess because of the amount of fights I had or stuff like that. You know how it can be. I haven't been able to get on. So hopefully here soon. I know my manager, TKO. They're talking to some of the people out there. So hopefully soon I can get a fight in there.
Is that the ultimate goal to compete for the UFC, or what was the goal when you entered the sport? What was the ultimate dream in MMA?
Get the UFC belt, definitely. Yeah.
With that being said, that flyweight strap is I think that fight's happening later this month with Davison Figueroa and Alex Perez. Don't know how much you know about either one of those guys, if you had the opportunity to meet either one, but what's your prediction for that fight?
I don't know. I haven't looked either one of them up. I know I've seen Figueroa when he beat Joseph. He beat him twice. That's about as much information as I got on him. Predictions. Mm, I guess Figueroa takes it because of his power and strength. He hits pretty hard. He's pretty athletic.
I want to talk about your training at Alliance. I mean, they're one of the best teams, in all of California. They've guys like Dominic Cruz have come out of there. How big has Alliance been for you in your career?
Huge. You're in there with, like you said, Dominic Cruz. You always have Jeremy Stevens energy. I'm learning from people like Phil Davis. I get to train with Angela Hill. My lady, Tina Pettigrew, she fights for Invicta. Lauren, who was in the UFC. It really helped me out because they have a lot of skill. Obviously, they have a lot of come on, a lot of skills and a lot of I can't remember the word I'm trying to think of, but they're teaching me a lot too, and they work with me. I also train with Wilson Hayes, who fought for the title at some point. Yeah, so it's a really good team. They help me out. I help them out. We work as a team. You know.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up I noticed a picture of you with Hilson Hayes and Brandon Moreno. What was that like? I mean, three crazy good flyweights. I mean, like you said, Ray's compete for the belt. Brandon Moreno is probably a fight away from a title shot. So great group of guys there. And what was the lesson from those two?
Um, I mean, there's levels to this, right? And then they're at a higher level, and even though I'm not at their level yet, I'm definitely on the right track. I feel like, yeah. So just got to keep doing what I'm doing, keep going to the gym, and then eventually, if I don't meet them, hope to pass them someday. You know.
Do you feel like surrounding yourself with killers really is motivating? Like I can imagine if I went in there and I got beat up day in day out, it eventually just knocked my morale. Like, oh my god, I'll never get there. For you, is it motivation to see like, oh man, I just beat around. I just beat him for one round. These little victories, do they motivate you?
Yeah, they definitely add up, and then obviously I do have my days where I'm like, crap, man, what am I doing? I'm doing something wrong. Am I doing this right or whatever? But then I have to remind myself. Obviously, um, they have been doing this longer than I have, and then they obviously have what's the word I'm looking for? They've been doing this longer than I have, and then
Yeah, they have a lot of experience, guys like Brandon Moreno.
experience. There we go. There we go. Experience. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. They have a lot of experience, right? And then, like you said, little victories. When I win just an exchange, I'm like, all right, I got this, right? And that's how I keep myself moving.
When you won your last fight, you said you felt like you were in his backyard, even though you are competing in California. Why is that? Why do you feel like even though you're winning fights in California, you feel like you're in the opponent's backyard?
Because I'm from Arkansas. I'm originally from Arkansas, and I was raised. I was born in Florida, and I was raised in Arkansas. So even when I do shows in California, I really don't know. I don't have a huge crowd out here because I don't really know a whole lot of people. So every time I do end up fighting in California, I'll usually fight a local from like San Diego or wherever, and then he has his crowd, right? So usually when I go out to the fights, it's always my opponent's crowd. It's hardly ever been my crowd.
Even though you're competing and you've been training there most of your career.
Most of the career, yep. It's because I don't really talk a whole lot, so I don't really make a lot of friends. So I'm quiet. That's why.
Yeah, I thought you had a tremendous performance. I did go back and I watched your Camilo fight. And what was the biggest lesson you took from that fight that you applied in your your two fights after that?
Um, so what happened with Camilo is I got a week and a half notice, and then since I hadn't had news about a fight, I felt like I slacked a little bit off of my training, right? And then we had the fight, and then I ended up losing. And I'm like, I'm never gonna let this happen to me again, ever. So I made sure that even though if there was no fight notice or a upcoming fight, I made sure that I stayed ready in case an opportunity came up. And if it was a day and a half or 2 days or whatever amount of time they gave me, that I would be ready. And that's what changed really.
Do you find it's hard to be motivated if there's no opponent on a sheet of paper? Like I find if I don't know who I'm fighting, how I find it would be hard to wake up in the morning and go to the gym. If you had an opponent who is hungry, is coming to kill you, I feel like my motivation would be on a whole other level. Do you find it harder to be motivated when you don't know when or who you're going to fight?
Uh, not anymore because the Joao Camilo fight. Now I'm like, oh, yeah, you remember you got that one loss, man. You better get your ass up.
That being said, I mean, do you have any nagging injuries from your last fight, and how quickly would you be willing to get back in there?
I just there was because I was doing a lot of calf kicks, and there was one where he turned the shin outward, and I ended up kicking the shin, and then that's been a little swollen since. But I think about another week, and it should be good to go. Um, I would like to take about a month or so to fix some of the things that I saw in there before I start another camp. So if possible, maybe in January, I would like to get back in there.
I want to talk about the early days. You had a very successful amateur career. Was there a point where you were like, maybe I should hold on a little bit longer? I mean, you had a six fight winning streak as an amateur, or a lot of guys just jump it and say, you know what, I'm just going to take some pro fights. What was the reason for taking those 6 fights?
Experience, and then I had I wanted the experience from those fights, and then I had my coach Day, who we call. He just told me it's time to go pro after those 6. I'm like, all right, you tell me what to do, I'll do it.
It's funny how guys are like, whatever coach tells me. Where did you learn that sort of discipline, and how did you get into the sport?
How did I learn that type of discipline? I'm gonna say my mom. My mom definitely disciplined me a lot. She's Mexican, so she was a little bit old school. So growing up with her, she was very strict. And then, what was your other question? I forgot.
How'd you end up, following going down the MMA route?
So I started watching UFC, and I think the first fight I saw was Nate Diaz. I can't remember. He got somebody in the triangle, and he started flicking everybody off. Do
Yeah.
you remember who that was?
Yeah, I think it was Kurt. It wasn't Kurt Pellegrino. I think it might have been Kurt, but I know what you mean. He had the guy in the triangle choke, and then
Yeah, he was flicking everybody off. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. This guy's winning off his back. And then shortly right after, I had a friend that showed up to soccer practice because I used to play a lot of soccer. Showed up to soccer practice, and he said, "There's a guy coming to our gym that's gonna teach UFC." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I've been wanting to do some of that stuff." And then we showed up to the gym, and there was this old, skinny old man, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here for the UFC class or something like that." He's like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." I'm like, "You sure? Like, you don't look like much." And then he gave the first class, and then he tapped everybody out, and I'm like, "All right, this guy's the real deal." And then I just stuck with him for a while. His name's Scott Devlin. He was in the army. He was an Army Ranger. And then I just stayed with him for about a year before he moved out to do some other stuff. And then I just stuck with it ever since.
it's crazy how, like, when you hear people's stories about how they got involved in it, and that's actually probably one of the weirder ones where I just tried it and fell in love and just kept going at it. It's funny because when you think about Mexico martial arts, I think lucha libre and boxing. Usually MMA isn't up there. What do you think it'll take before that really is predominant in Mexico? I mean, guys like Cain Velasquez, Efrain Escudero, and Yair Rodriguez are starting to do it. But what do you think it will really take before we see like an influx of Mexican MMA?
we're probably gonna need a fighter like Chavez, I think. Julio Cesar Chavez. If we can get something like that in MMA, I think Mexico will definitely get behind it.
Is that your? Would that be a dream of yours too? You know, going and maybe competing in a Mexico. Obviously, right now it's probably not realistic with the pandemic and everything. But would that be something that you'd like to do somewhere down the line? Maybe a UFC card or a Bellator card, compete in Mexico.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I don't know how. Like I do have family in Mexico, and they love me and they support me. But everybody else, since I'm not from there, I don't know how they if they will be behind me or not. So depending on how I act, I guess the next couple of years on my career is whether I get my Mexico crowd behind me or not.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you're fighting a Mexican, you're probably not going to be cheered. But if you're fighting an American, they'll be behind you, especially if you win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's it.
'Cause
One of the things about the Mexican crowds, whether it's in soccer or boxing or whatever it is that passion. What do you think separates Mexico's passion for their athletes from the United States?
I think it's the moms. The moms, you know. Yeah, the moms. I don't know. They just do things a little different, you know. I remember my mom, for instance, when I was growing up, she would tell me a lot of stories about her growing up and how hard it was. And somehow her pain transfers on to me, and then that pain I let it out like for her, if that makes sense,
Yeah. Yep.
right? Because then when I get my hand raised, it's like she's getting her hand raised, right? So I feel like all right, I made her happy, you know. That pain that all she went through, like it was worth it for something. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, I have my mom's from Spain, so very similar in the way that brought up a lot of discipline, but always been mama's boy in terms of whatever I do is for her type thing, and I do think that that's something that separates Hispanic moms from a lot of others is the way they discipline, the way they bring up their kids, and it shows in terms of how they return the favor for them later on. For people who haven't seen you fight, who maybe missed your last fight, it was remarkable. But what would you say? How would you describe your fighting style, and who would you relate yourself to? Someone in the UFC or someone who used to fight in the UFC?
Huh. I don't know. That's a good question. Um, what's my fighting style like? I guess no matter how, like, I'm willing to take 5 punches to land one. But I know that once I land that one, that I got you for sure, right? And then once I land one, I know I can land two. Once I land two, I know I'll probably be able to land three. Once I start landing three, I know I got you for sure. Who would I relate my fighting style to? I don't know. I don't know. I know I used to watch a lot of Wanderlei Silva when he was in Pride.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I always wanted to be like him. I know I'm nowhere near him, but I guess he's one of the few that what's it called? Inspired me for sure. Hopefully that answered your question.
Last question, and I'll let you go. What is there any sponsors, anyone you want to plug, or anyone you want to thank before we cut this?
Absolutely. All my coaches at Alliance MMA, all my training partners at Alliance and Bonita Martial Arts Academy. Sponsors, I would like to thank Genesis Recovery, San Diego, Soles Hemp, Debbie Pettigrew with their Debbie portraits, Casa de Coronado that's out in TJ, Tijuana. My mom, and there's she owns this business too. Her business name is Paulita's Mexican Store. Um, Fight Doc. They help me with all my medicals and fight rope. And then I just want to make a quick point to anybody that's listening out there. I have a nephew that's in the hospital at the moment. He's not doing too well. If you guys could please keep him, my brother, and his wife in your prayers, please.
Thank you once again, man. I know you're going through a hard time. We were supposed to do this a few days ago, so I hope all is well with you and your family. If there's anything I can do, just let me know. Thoughts and prayers with you all, and man, stay safe out there, and best of luck with your next fight, whenever that happens to be.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, man. All the best.
All right. You too. Take care.
All right, there you have it, Alberto Trujillo. I appreciate him taking the time. We were supposed to do this a few days ago. He did, like he said, he had that family, had some family issues. Hopefully that gets sorted for him soon. But I've been a fan of his for a little while. If you haven't watched his fight with Santo, I highly recommend it. He is very violent, and I love it. And you can expect to see him in the UFC very, very soon. If you haven't yet, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.